2021, SB 759, first reading.
National Commission, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the second business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Jibril Issa on the Federal Eye Center Ochandamu Kogi State Establishment Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal Eye Center Ochandamu Kogi State Establishment Bill 2021, SB 760, first reading.
Federal Eye Center Ochandamu Kogi State Establishment Bill 2021, SB 760, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the third business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Ibikule Amosu on the Abduction, Wrongful Restraints and Confinement Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Abduction, Wrongful Restraint and Confinement Bill 2021, SB 762, first reading.
Abduction, Wrongful Restraints and Confinement Bill 2021, SB 761, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fourth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Frank Chukuma Ibezim on the African Union Convention on the Protection and Assistance of Internally Displaced Persons in Africa, Domestication and Enforcement Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, African Union Convention on the Protection and Assistance of Internally Displaced Persons in Africa, Domestication and Enforcement Bill 2021, SB 763, first reading.
African Union Convention on the Protection and Assistance of Internally Displaced Persons in Africa, Domestication and Enforcement Bill 2021, SB 763, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fifth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Obasani on the Recovery of Public Property Special Provisions Act, CAP, R4 laws. Read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Recovery of Public Property Special Provision Act, CAP R4, LFN 2004, Repeal Bill 2021, SB 764, first reading.
Recovery of Public Property Special Provisions Act, CAP R4, LFN 2004, Repeal Bill 2021, SB 764, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the sixth business of the day is the presentation of the report of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters on the FCT Customary Court Act 2007 Amendment Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Michael Opeyemi Bamidele, Chairman of the committee, to move a motion for the Senate to receive the report.
Leader, I thought this would be receive and consider. No, only receive? Okay. Okay. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. 2021 budget of the Nigerian Police Trust Fund. Mr. President, distinguished senators, I so move.
Yeah, distinguished Senator Ladi Sankara, the latter ringing.
Police Affairs on the 2021 budget of the Nigeria Police Trust Fund. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Police Affairs on the 2021 budget of the Nigeria Police Trust Fund, say aye. Those against, any die. You may let the report, Chairman. You may present the report.
Thank you, sir. I will go straight to the findings, consideration, and observation by the committee, Mr. President. The Joint Committee invited the Executive Secretary and the management team of the Nigerian Police Trust Fund to a budget hearing where in 2021 budget details were discussed consequently. The committee identified some of the project locations and other relevant items under the capital component of the Nigerian Police Trust Fund budget. Observation by the committee. While considering the budget of the Nigerian Police Trust Fund, the Joint Committee observed as follows. One, that this is the second budget of the Nigerian Police Trust Fund since the establishment of the Act come into being in 2019. Secondly, the total revenue rollover from 2020 was 23 billion, 600 million. Accrued revenue is as follows. 0.5% of the total revenue accrued to the Federation account, which represents 41 billion. 0.05 total VAT, which is 8.8 billion. 0.05 of the net profit companies in Nigeria doing business in Nigeria, which represents 300 million. 8 grant donations, ECT, generated to the sum of 150 million. That the government subvention for the personnel, overhead, and capital was nil. Recommendations by the committee, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. At the end of its deliberation, the Joint Committee considered the observation and recommend as follows. Personnel costs, 900 million. Overhead expenditure, 10 billion. Total recurrent, 11 billion. Capital expenditure, 63.7 billion. Total budget recommended by the committee is 74.7 billion naira. That the Nigerian Police Trust Fund should expedite action on the implementation of the 2021 budget for the enhancement of the policing and tackling the security challenges for the benefit of the nation and its citizenry. In conclusion, distinguished colleagues, the Joint Committee wishes to express its profound gratitude to the leadership of the Senate and the House of Representatives for the trust reposed on us to consider the Police Trust Fund budget. It is the expectation of the Joint Committee that this recommendation will help in reaching an acceptable decision on the matter, which will significantly improve funding of the Nigerian Police Force. Mr. President, distinguished senators, thank you.
Any comments? Okay, we go to the recommendations. The recommendations on page 2. At the end of his deliberations, the Joint Committee considered the observations are recommended as follows. Roman figure 1, personnel cost, 988,279,006 naira 5 kobo. 2, overhead expenditure, 10 billion 27 610,310 naira 25 kobo. Total recurrent 11,15,889,316 naira 30 kobo. Capital expenditure 63,757,712,600 naira. Total budget recommended by the committee is 74,773,601,916 naira 30 kobo only. That NPTF should expedite action on the implementation of the 2021 budget for the enhancement of policing and tackling the security challenges for the benefit of the nation and its citizenry. Those in favor of this recommendation say aye. Those against say nay. Yes?
Mr. President, thank you very much. Mr. President, I have a comment on page 8.
No, we have passed that. I asked for comments. We have passed that. No, I didn't see you. We are past that. No, we are past that. We are past that. Sorry. No, but I didn't see you. No. Hey, I'm not denying that you raised your hand, but I didn't see it. No, it's late. We are on recommendations now. We are voting on the recommendations. Okay, you can explain if it is part of the recommendations, but not general comments.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, please permit me to ask the Chairman Police Committee how he arrived at the police stations and police officers to be rehabilitated. Because I've looked at it, the police stations in Anambra, about 8 of them were burnt down. About 8 were burnt down. The barracks in Anambra State, all the barracks in Anambra State are nothing to write home about. I can't see any police station or any barracks in the rehabilitation column. So I would like to know how he was able to arrive at the police stations that he chose in this committee, to know why we don't even have one, not even a police station, not even a barracks in Anambra.
No, I think you should you ask him to explain. So allow him to explain. Don't go into a judgment. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Police Trust Fund Act provide that before it prepares its budget, it should ask the police to submit their requirement. This is an intervention fund. It's not a statutory budget. So it is based on the recommendation of the police that the Police Trust Fund submit its budget to the National Assembly for consideration and approval.
If it is intervention fund, the intervention fund is meant for the entire Nigeria. It's not just for one particular place. So it's not meant for just the states you stipulated in your own report. How come Anambra State is not part of the states to benefit from that intervention fund, considering the decay we have in the police stations and police barracks in Anambra State? So I think it is not fair. He has to consider at least one police station and one barracks in Anambra State.
Distinguished. Let me say this. When our committees work on things like this, we will trust their judgment, but of course we can question their actions. When we have an intervention, I have no idea whether this is going to be a phased intervention or whatever it is, but I will always advise that we have the kind of spread that is necessary. Even the police will be advised. But if that is not exactly what is expected, what is here, I will advise that we allow this one to go, because we can't start changing the arrangements the police themselves have done. But we call the attention of the police that next time they should look into those areas that they have not considered in this particular request. Deputy Chief Whip.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Senator Aliu Sabi Abdullahi, I want to refer us to page 12. Page 12, we have rehabilitation of 4-man RF quarters, 2-bedroom bungalow, Onitsha, Anambra State. So what they have done is that perhaps you look at one page where, because they've serialized them in accordance to needs. So I think that goes to show what the chairman said, that based on the needs assessment from the police formation, they submitted to the intervention fund. And that's what we have. So page 12, if you check, you will see it. All right.
Did you see them? Are you okay? Okay. Thank you very much. Those in favor of the recommendations as read out, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the first order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the committee, on appropriations on the supplementary appropriation bill, which the chairman took order 43 to explain the inability of the appropriation committee to lay the report for consideration. With this in mind, Mr. Chairman, and with your permission, I move the motion that the consideration of this particular item on our order paper be stepped down until the time when the report is formally laid before the Senate. So I move the motion that this particular order be stepped down for another legislative bill. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. President, I so submit.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that we stand down the consideration of this report based on the request of the chairman of our Committee on Appropriations that they need more time and the Senate approved. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the third order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters on Firearms Act F28, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, Amendment Bill 2021. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was referred to the committee on Tuesday, 16 February 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Michael Opeyemi Bamidele, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the presentation and consideration of the report.
Distinguished Senator Michael Opeyemi Bamidele.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I am Michael Opeyemi Bamidele. I represent Ekiti Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, I move that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters on the Firearms Act, Cap F28, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, Amendment Bill 2021, SB 549. Mr. President, I so move.
Distinguished colleagues, I need a seconder. Senator Basiru Surajuddin Ajibola.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Dr. Surajuddin Ajibola Basiru, Senator representing Osun Central Senatorial District. I rise to second the motion moved by the Chairman, Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters. This Senate will receive the report of the committee on and consider same on Firearms Act Amendment Bill 2021, SB 549. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters on the Firearms Act, Cap F 2811-2004 Amendment Bill. Say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Chairman, you may lead the report, please. Chairman, you may present the report.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, report of the Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters on a bill for an act to amend the Firearms Act, Cap F28, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to, among other provisions, increase the imposition of fines for offenses, provide for the firearms illegally imported into the country or in possession of individuals without valid license in a bid to build public confidence in the overall efforts targeted at preventing and curtailing the circulation of illegal firearms in the country and for other related matters, SB 549.
Distinguished colleagues, please, let's take our seats. Let's take our seats, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Firearms Act, Cap F28, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 Amendment Bill 2021, SB 549, was sponsored by distinguished Senator Uba Sani, representing Kaduna Central Senatorial District. The bill was read for the first time on the floor of the Senate on Wednesday, 25th November 2020. At the plenary sitting of the Senate on Tuesday, 16 February 2021, the Senate deliberated extensively on the general principles of this bill. Thereafter, the bill was read the second time and referred to the Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters for further legislative action. Via Senate Order of Referral dated 17 February 2021 to report back with its recommendations. Mr. President, I'll quickly speak to the objectives of this bill before I jump to the legislative summary. The bill, in a nutshell, seeks to amend the Firearms Act, Cap 28/2004, to, among other things, achieve the following objectives. 1, to increase the imposition of fine for offenses committed under the Act from the current regime, which is not stringent enough. 2, to establish a comprehensive and coordinated disarmament process and destruction of all illegal firearms by the Office of the National Security Advisor in order to prevent the firearms from re-entering our communities. And 3, to take proactive measures and sustain legislative strategy to address the underlying factors facilitating the circulation of illegal firearms and block every loophole to curtail proliferation of illicit firearms in the country. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, because of time, I'm jumping to page 6 to talk about the legislative summary. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, this legislative summary highlights our further inputs and changes made on the provisions of the bill by the committee. We commend the approval of the proposed changes to this distinguished Senate. Clause 2 amends Section 27 of the Principal Act. In the proposed bill, subclause 1C(b) of the Principal Act was amended by reviewing upward the fine from 1,000 naira to the sum of 1 million naira, or both fine and imprisonment. This is necessary because the fine contained in the extant act is not punitive enough to deter illegal importation and sale of firearms in Nigeria. Hence, the need for the upward review in line with current realities. New clause 5 of the bill. The committee has introduced a new clause 5, which seeks to amend Section 38 of the Principal Act. This is a consequential amendment in line with the provisions of the newly introduced Clause 39 of the bill. This is necessary because it is not only officers of the armed forces of the Federation and the Nigerian police force who are authorized to carry firearms and ammunition. Accordingly, we have amended this provision to include other law enforcement agencies as well. This amendment is as set out in the accompanying table. Finally, Clause 5, renumbered as Clause 6. The clause amends new Clause 39 of the bill. It deals with power to seize and destroy confiscated and illegal firearms. Secondly, subclauses 4 and 5 of the clause have been further amended by the committee to ensure that firearms that are not of military serviceable grades but are serviceable can be deployed for use by civilian, joint force, and other related registered vigilantes under the approval and supervision of the Office of the National Security Advisor. This is important because these joint efforts are also funded by the government. Finally, the committee introduced a new subclause 8 to this clause in order to clearly define the nature and types of firearms to be destroyed for ease of understanding and clarity. Our observations and findings. Having regard to views canvassed at the committee hearing and contribution made by distinguished senators during debate on the general principles of the bill, vis-a-vis our subsequent clause-by-clause analysis of the provisions of the bill, we hereby make the following observations and findings. 1. The stakeholders unanimously supported the passage of the bill with amendments which were reflected in the draft bill for approval by the Senate. 2. That in view of proliferations of firearms across the country, coupled with the security challenges, this bill is a welcome development and we commend its passage to this distinguished Senate. 3. That the fine in both the extant act is not commensurate with the gravity of the offense. Hence, the upward review of the fine in the proposed bill will serve as deterrent and as well strengthen the current efforts geared towards the control of illicit and illegal firearms influx into the country and in the possession of individuals. 4. That the utilization of confiscated and seized firearms that are of military serviceable grades by the military or paramilitary organizations is in line with best practices obtainable in some other jurisdictions like the United States of America, India, Australia, and etc. 5. That the consequential amendment introduced by the committee, which seeks to include other law enforcement agencies in Section 38 of the Principal Act, is a welcome development because it is not only officers of the armed forces of the Federation and the Nigerian police who are authorized to carry firearms and ammunition in the discharge of their statutory functions. In thanking the President and our distinguished colleagues for the opportunity to serve in this capacity, we hereby recommend that the Senate Committee on Judiciary Human Rights and Legal Matters, to which the bill was referred, having considered same, do hereby recommend as follows: that the Senate do consider and pass the Firearms Act Amendment Bill 2021 as amended. I so move, Mr. President.
Any comments? Leader of the Senate. Committee of the Whole.
My highly respected and distinguished colleagues, I move a motion for the Senate to resolve in the Committee of the Whole to consider this report. I move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate resolves into Committee of the Whole to consider the report, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, this is not a controversial bill, and we have only 9 clauses, so I will take 2 clauses at a time. Those in favor of clauses 1 and 2 stand part of the bill, say aye. Amendment, DSP.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ovi Omo Agege, Delta Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, laudable as the amendment to Section 2 is, by way of the increase in the fines, I'm still of the view, Mr. President, that even the 2 million naira is inadequate, considering the magnitude of the act of this trafficking. It says 1 million. It's 2 million that's here. I'm saying 2 million. And I'm of the view that the 2 million, Mr. President, is inadequate if we must deter this transgression. So I'm going to suggest that anybody who is involved in this kind of business should be taken out of business altogether. Instead of the 2 million fine, I'm going to propose 10 million naira instead of the 2 million. 10 million. Because we don't even want them to remain in the business of bringing in these illegal arms after they have been caught, Mr. President. So from 2 million, we should go to 10 million, Mr. President. Yes, sir.
Can you look at what is on page 2? Read clause 2 up to page 2. Is it correct, the way it is couched?
Okay, if I may read, it says Section 27(1)(c) 5 of the Principal Acts amended by substituting the words 1,000 naira with 2 million naira as follows. Say to a fine of 1 million naira or imprisonment for a term of 2 years or both. I am saying, Mr. President, that
Before you say this, I'm thinking
yes, Mr. President, I'm saying that even at that, Mr. President.
Yeah, I know, I want us to address that.
Yes.
We have the 2 million as suggested by the committee.
Yes.
Then you suggest how much you want it to be.
Yes.
How much?
I want to be 10 million naira, Mr. President. 10 million while leaving the terms of imprisonment as is. Or you move that.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I'm Matthew Rogide, Edo South. Mr. President, I want to just do an amendment if I second. That 5 million naira will just be ideal.
Mr. President, I'm Senator Chukot Azde. I want to second the suggestion that we get to 10 million naira to act as a 10 million to act as a deterrent. So second.
Distinguished Senator Matthew Irogire, I will put the question now, and if you want your amendment, you can bring it after the question is put. Do you understand? So I will put the question now on this amendment first. Those in favor of clauses 1 and 2, that they stand part of the bill, say aye. Those as amended in clause 2, stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. You still want to amend?
Mr. President, I just believe that the little amendment over this, this fine, was what I was thinking of. But I think 10 years really the penalty is too grievous in the circumstance. I have wanted amendment to, to 5 years and 2 years imprisonment or 3 years imprisonment. 5 million and then 3 years imprisonment. Yes.
Senator Francis.
My name is Senator Francis Salimikena, representing the good people of Edo North. I rise to second the motion heavily moved by Senator Orokide that this won't be reduced to 5 million. It is not necessarily the amount of this thing that matters, but the ability to pay the fine. 5 million is okay.
Well, distinguished colleagues, let me explain this before I put the question. The committee proposed 2 million naira fine or 2 years or both. The DSP came up with an amendment of maintaining the 2 years, but the 2 million was upped to 10 million. And that's what we passed. But there is an amendment motion that the 2 million, the 2 million should be 5 million rather than 10. So I'll put the question on whether it should be 10 or 5. Sorry? Did he say that? $5 million and 3 years. Okay. So the present provision is 10 million and 2 years. And what the amendment is seeking is 5 million and 3 years. So those in favor of clause 2 as amended, and the amendment is 5 million, 3 years. Those in favor of the clause 2 as amended, say aye. Aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes. So what we have passed is 5 million, 3 years. Those in favor of clause 3, 4, and 5, that they stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes. Clause 6, those in favor that clause 6 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes. Clause 7 on page 7. Those in favor that clause 7 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. Clause 8 on page 8. Those in favor that clause 8 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. And clause 9, citation. Those in favor that clause 9 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. Those in favor that the interpretation, the short title stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. Those in favor that the explanatory memorandum stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. Those in favor that the long title stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, I rise to move a motion for the chair to report progress.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to second the motion moved by the leader.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate reverse to plenary for the chair to report progress, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have. The Senate, in the Committee of the Whole, considered the report of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters on the Firearms Act Cap F28-2004 Amendment Bill 2021. Long title as recommended, Clause 1 as recommended, Clause 2 as amended, Clauses 3 to 8 as recommended. Short title as recommended. Explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, I rise to a motion that this bill be read the third time.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to second the motion as moved by the leader.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that this bill be now read the third time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to alter the Firearms Act Cap F28, laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to, amongst other provisions, increase imposition of fines for offenses, provide for the destruction of firearms illegally imported into the country or in possession of individuals without valid license, in a bid to build public confidence in the overall efforts targeted at preventing and curtailing the circulation of illegal arms in the country, and for related matters 2021 SB 549, third reading.
A bill for an act to alter the Firearms Act Cap F28, laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, amongst other provisions, increase the imposition of fines for offenses, provide for the destruction of firearms illegally imported into the country or in possession of individuals without valid license, in a bid to build public confidence in the overall efforts targeted at preventing and curtailing the circulation of illegal firearms in the country, and for related matters 2021 third reading taken, and the bill is passed. Thank you very much, distinguished colleagues. I'm sure this will go a long way in supporting the fight against the so much insecurity we have in the country. And we believe that this is one worthy bill of a presidential assent. Congratulations to the sponsor of the bill, distinguished Senator Obasani, Kaduna Central. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fourth order of the day is the second reading of the Araromi Seafront Port Ondo State Establishment Bill 2021. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this distinguished chamber on Wednesday, 24th March 2021. Mr. President, we wish to invite distinguished Senator Tofu Omo Nicholas Olubukola to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
Distinguished Senator Nicholas Tofu Omo.
Thank you, Mr. Senate President. I'm leading the debate on a bill for an act to amend the Nigerian Ports Authority Act, Cap N126, LFN 2004, to provide for establishment of the Araromi Seafront Port in Ilaje Local Government, Ondo State, Bill 2021, in bracket SB 684. I'm Senator Nicholas Tofumo, representing Ondo South. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I'm very optimistic and delighted to lead the debate on this economic-oriented bill, which seeks to amend NTA Act to provide for the... You will recall that this bill was first read on the 24th of March 2021. Seaports have changed many countries all over the world. And many countries have used seaports to improve their importation and exportation business, and also develop their marine transportation. It will be interesting to know that there are 96 seaports in South Africa with a population of 60 million, meaning that 625,000 South Africans will have access to a seaport if distributed evenly. There are over 200 seaports in the United Kingdom with a population of 70 million, meaning that 350,000 Britons will have access to a seaport if evenly distributed. Also, there are 22 seaports in Morocco with a population of 37 million, meaning that 1.6 Moroccans will have access to seaport if distributed evenly. There are 15 seaports in Egypt with a population of 100 million. There are 360 commercial seaports in the United States of America with a population of 330 million. And there are 14 seaports in Italy with a population of 61 million. Libya has 15 seaports with a population of 7 million. There are 6 seaports in Ghana with a population of 32 million, meaning that one seaport in Ghana serves 5.3 million Ghanaians. While in Nigeria, with only 6 major seaports, indicating that a seaport in Nigeria serves 33.3 million Nigerians. That is not only sad, but unfortunate, and it is one of the key to our slow economic development. Our stand in the Ninth Senate is to move Nigeria forward economically and reposition Nigeria. In the field of global economy, Nigeria is overdue for a minimum of 20 major seaports, and we are still struggling with 6 seaports, which are as follows: Lagos Port Complex, Tinkan Island in Lagos, Calabar Port, Delta Port, Rivers Port in Port Harcourt, and Onne Port. The Lagos Complex and the Tinkan Island Port in Lagos are congested and overworked, serving Lagos State, Ogun State, Osun State, Ondo State, Kwara State, Kogi State, Ekiti State, and many other Nigerian states and other neighboring countries, which has built daily traffic congestion and had a significant importation and exportation delays of goods with additional cost to traders. The Araramisi Front Port is strategically located on the Atlantic Ocean, sea line, and it has a deep sea, what will accommodate large vessels. The port will play a very big role in the congesting Lagos seaport and serve 5 states, which include Ekiti State, Osun State, Kogi State, Edo State, and Ondo State, with other surrounding states. The seaport will give an end to illegal importation and exportation on our land borders, and all imported goods will be channeled through Lagos ports, and more revenue will be generated. The port will create employment for thousands of people and make clearing goods faster. Our coastal line in that region will develop, and improve trade, commerce, and industry. Araraomi seafront tourism will improve because it has white sand, like Britain in the United Kingdom. Araraomi seafront port will improve agricultural products like cocoa, cassava, plantain, oil palm, and rubber. This will be easy to export and earn foreign exchange and improve our economy. Federal government is investing on railways through foreign loan. And in this regard, World Bank support will also help in establishing this seaport. And if properly managed, the seaport will fund itself and business opportunities will enhance to surrounding states. This will be a good innovation, and the funding will not affect our economy. The Ninth Senate is well committed to developing Nigeria, economy. And if we can embrace establishment of more seaports in Nigeria, our genuineness to economic development will be established. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, seaports have helped many countries to develop. And if we establish more seaports, our economy will improve. Importation and exportation will grow. Our coastal areas have been neglected. It will receive attention. Income generation will improve. Many government institutions will be extended to this new seaport. In conclusion, I want all my colleagues to support this bill, and let us drive establishment of more seaports in Nigeria so that life will change and more jobs will be made available, and exploration of commercial goods would improve our revenue. In compliance with Order 73, Subsection 3, on the Senate Standing Order 2015, as amended, a compendium of financial implication on the bill is attached here. Mr. Senate President, sir, there are seven states on the seashore, and only 5 have seaports. Akwa Ibom, Bayelsa, in those states we don't have seaports. If we can sort out these seaports before the end of this administration, it will be success. And I pray that my colleagues will support me. Thank you.
Very distinguished Senator Francis Adenigba, Badahunsi, Osun East.
I also support this important bill of establishing a seaport in Ondo State, particularly Araraomi, where we have this deep sea already. And I will urge my colleagues to see reasons with us on how to improve the economy. Number one, Araraomi has a deep sea level that does not need dredging. So the federal government needs to just build the platform and the barges where the ship will anchor, very close to Atlantic Ocean. And 2, Lagos is already decongested, congested, with associated transportation problems provided by the few ports there. The only 2 ports in Lagos, Apapa and Tinka. If Araraomi is joined very close to Lekki, we will have enough space. And the congestion of Lagos will now be diverted to Ondo State, and Lagos will be free of trailer problem. Then it's very close to the north, particularly Kogi. And we have major importers in the north, particularly Kano, Kaduna, Maiduguri, and Sokoto, who normally patronize Lagos port because the alternatives are not there because of bad roads to Calabar port. Port Harcourt is congested already, despite the expansion they have there. So if Ondo is given the opportunity now, during our tenure here, automatically the economy will have enough space to breathe. Then we will curb excessive smuggling activities at the border. Because Nigerians, particularly from the north, because of the congestion here and the high cost of clearing, the patronized Republic of Benin, Togo and Ghana at a very low cost. If Ondo is added very close to Kogi, automatically it will be easier for the northern importers to move their goods without necessary distress from Lagos. Then the smuggling activities will come down. Then the economy will grow by providing employment opportunities for all the indigenous towards that side. If the employment opportunities are provided, then you will have that security will be alive.
Distinguished Miranda, please.
And if all this, including exportation of our Greek and mineral resources, are given facelift from Ondo through the IC to other countries, our foreign reserve will be better. Therefore, I urge my colleagues to approve this bill so as to ease the economic problem we have. Thank you very much.
Distinguished Senator Ayo Akin-Elure.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, my name remains Senator Ayo Akin-Elure, representing Ondo Central. I rise to strongly support this passage of this bill, Mr. President. And I also want to commend the sponsor of the bill, my colleague, Senator Nicola Tufoma. It is a high time, Mr. President, that a seaport be established in Ondo State because of the advantages already enumerated by the sponsor of the bill and by Senator Fadausin. Without repeating what they have said, it is important at this time when the IGR of